But one thing they're very curious about is diversity and multiculturalism, and how you all are thinking about this, because these seem to be these issues that are out there a lot, and like it's almost like a fire that just keeps getting flamed. And then what you have is you have people like me who reach adulthood, and we decide that, hey, we're going to teach the next generation. And sometimes we have these ideas that the next generation needs or should or would be, their lives would be improved if they thought about the world in particular ways. And maybe just things that we tripped up over, or maybe things that, we just really didn't get until we got older. And then we decide, oh, okay, so with you all, we're going to start when you're at a younger age, and then we're going to see if we can kind of make this really make you see the importance of these things. And one of those things is diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, gender, race, inequality, all of the things that kind of get thrown into this kind of one kind of larger category, okay? And that y'all need to focus on this more. And especially the adults who are running universities, because universities tend to be much more left or liberal in their general orientations. Most people at universities, tend to have kind of much more of a liberal orientation to the world, are much more likely to think that things like DE&I, diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, all of those things are really important to make the world a better place, okay? And it's not, outside of universities, there's much less agreement. Also inside, I mean, we don't all think the same way, but the ship of most universities, except for a relatively small number of them in the United States, I'm only speaking about here in the United States, we tend to be sailing along on the oceans of the diversity and equity and inclusion. These things are important, right? But you all are consumers of education, and consumers. And maybe this educational mission as consumers, well, I don't know, I'm just curious about how you think about this. So I initially thought of this class as just an opportunity to sit down with two different groups of students sitting here on the table and asking you, what are you thinking about and how are you thinking about it? And to what degree does this sense that these things are really important align with who you are, how you think, and what you do with your actual lives, okay? So on the outside, there's a perception that this is just what the university is all about, but I'm just curious. So we're gonna have a conversation about that. So Nidhi, okay. So here, take a look one side or the other, or you can read if you have good eyesight. You can just read that way. So this is from what I did was I looked at mission statements at a lot of these groups on campus, and there are so many of them, right? Like all across campus, we have either centers or parts of a department or a college or student affairs, all the different units in student affairs, they all have some kind of DEIB, because belonging has become one, these initiatives. And so I looked at a whole bunch of them, and I took some quotes. So this is one, right? Build capacity of students, staff, and faculty to prioritize the tenets of DEIB and accessibility into their lives, right? So, Remick, I think we're gonna start with you, right? What's that mean to you?
If I'm being completely honest.
No, hang on. You are going to be completely honest, okay? There's no political correctness up here. Here's what we're doing. I'm giving people who see these initiatives, I'm giving them a window into your lives, okay? So be completely honest. What's that mean to you?
I would say it means to provide a community where all students, staff, and
No, no,
all
no, hang on.
faculty.
No, no, no. What's it mean
Well,
to you?
Yeah,
You,
but
Remick.
that's what it does mean to me, is providing an environment where I feel comfortable and I know my friends around me also feel comfortable. I have lots of friends who are not white. I have friends who are mixed. And I think it's important that I feel safe and they feel just as safe as I do.
What do you mean by, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask a lot of questions. What do you mean by safe and what do you mean by, let's start with comfortable. What do you mean by comfortable?
You're putting me on the spot right
No, you're
here.
dead. No, 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 no. Listen, put your thumb like that and hold it just like that.
Like
yeah.
that? Okay.
Yeah. So, no, you're not on the spot. I'm asking you, Remick, like imagine that you and I are just sitting down at Cafe 210 and we're drinking a beer together, okay? And I'm
Okay.
just saying like, hey, Remick, what do you mean by comfortable? You want to feel comfortable. What do you mean?
I just don't want to feel like I'm judged, and I don't want to feel like anyone is judging my friends.
On the basis of what?
Anything. I mean, it could be as simple as the shoes I'm wearing. I know they look gross. I don't really care. Or like the way people are wearing certain things.
Yeah, but here we're talking about D, E, and I, and B, right, mostly. So judge.
Yeah, but you wouldn't include that in diversity, equity,
Oh, you
and
could,
inclusion?
but mostly I don't think we're really talking about that. Okay, but no, go ahead. But it's okay, it's okay. No,
I mean,
go-
it's very broad, I feel like, because you can interpret it like how I am, of just like very simple things, but then it could also be things of skin color,
Okay.
ethnicity.
So you are saying that for you and your friends, the idea is, hey, what this means is, hey, we want to create a space here at a place like Penn State, at this university, where people feel like they're not being looked at.
Where they feel comfortable enough to be themselves, no matter what they look like or who they are as a person.
Okay. Bro, how about you, man? Salim.
Yeah, for me, I think.
Wait, hold it close.
Yeah, this is mainly talking about how international kids, or basically kids who aren't from Penn State, they prioritize stuff like diversity, equity, inclusion, and I do agree with what she said. But for me, this is more things like culture, celebrations, the religion that we bring as well, and obviously, as an international kid myself, one of the things that me and my parents valued was how many Indian kids are going to be there, how many international kids are going to be there. And it wasn't necessarily just because it's easier to make friends, it was more, what do they bring? Can we continue what you do in your hometown? Can you do that somewhere else?
So when you thought about a place like Penn State, by the way, hold it really close. Hold the mic really close. When you think about Penn State, when you were applying here, you were thinking about these questions? You and your parents?
They weren't the first things that we were thinking about, but yes, that was definitely something which we considered, because it's important for us at least, I'm guessing for a vast majority of international kids, this is something that they value. Maybe not as high as the quality of education, but it's definitely a factor. Like if you were to just go to like a small private school, but it has amazing education, I probably wouldn't have gone there.
Because you also want to be, when you say inclusion, so this is so I'm a little confused about something. So if you're coming from India, right? You're coming to Penn State. You're coming to the United States, which is a very multicultural society, right? You're coming here not to be in India. You're coming here to be part of this multicultural experiment that we call the United States, right? But what I'm hearing you say is, yeah, but when I get there, I want to feel what?
I want to just be able to continue what I was doing back home in India.
You
So
want to
it's
be
not-
Salil.
Yeah, exactly. So like, as an
But
example,
not
like if-
entirely, because if you did want to do that, you'd just stay in India. but you
Yeah,
came
well,
here.
Yeah. So it's not entirety. So like, if I were to just ask you that if you were to go to India, and it just said that
Hold
okay,
it close.
now you need to just do whatever I do on a day-to-day basis. You're not necessarily gonna like it. You're like, I have like different things to do. I do different things on a day-to-day basis. That's the same thing for me. Like, even though I'm here, and a good reason why I came is to experience what it is, what
Yeah.
life is like in the United States. I also want to maintain a good portion of, where I came from. I feel like
Okay. That's important to you.
that's equally as important.
Okay. Danielle, how about you?
Excuse me, about like what the statement means to me.
Yeah, what's it mean to you? When you think about these, Penn State saying, hey, this, we're going to build the capacity of students to prioritize the tenets of diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and accessibility. So we assume, like, okay, that's really important to you. So well, then tell us what that means to you.
I feel like the statement reads as our goal is to ultimately like teach the student body that DEI and B ideologies are extremely important and will be important to their lives.
But are they important to your life? Is this important to you?
Yeah, I would say so.
How so, though? How is it important to you? Like, for example, how is it important to you?
I mean, I feel like especially with diversity, I feel like there's a lot of merit to having a diverse crowd, whether
Okay.
it's through race, gender, ethnicity, family status, economic status. And it's just always been something that's super important to me. I know in my personal life at Penn State, like when he was talking about, I guess, did diversity play any role about what you were looking at in a school? That did for me, but in the sense of, like when I was looking at colleges, one of the things that my mom and I had to look at was there any place where you could go to get your hair done? And that's not something that a lot of students have to really think about, because there's always going to be some place that can cut your hair. But if you go to a place where it's predominantly white, there's no guarantee that the people who work at the salons there will be able to work on black hair. And that was something that I had to look at when I was looking at schools that were much smaller or out in the Midwest where the black population was extremely low.
Okay. All right. So let me ask you this. So okay, that's a good example, right? So when you think about diversity, though, when you think about the importance of diversity, like a diverse environment, for you, that would mean, hey, I want to make sure there are like white people there and brown people there and international students there and students who are not straight or students who are just like all over the place. So did you think about that? Were those things that you thought about? Like, I want to be in a diverse campus.
Those weren't things that I really thought about, but there are things that I'm super happy that I get at Penn State. I'm the president of like Women and Gender Diversity in the College of Earth and Mineral Sciences. I'm also on the Diversity Council for the College of EMS. And so I've really come to appreciate those things more, even though they were always kind of something that I've really liked seeing in my environments.
Okay, what do you appreciate about, and then Remick, we're coming to you next. What do you appreciate about those things? So you're on the Women and Gender Diversity Council in your college. You're in geography, so you're in Earth and Mineral Sciences. What do you appreciate about them?
I think with this really big DEI push, it really prioritizes the fact that not only do students from different backgrounds, any backgrounds belong here, but that their voice has value and the social aspects that build up their life can bring something new to the table. It doesn't matter if you're cisgender or transgender or white or black or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like naming it diversity rather than just always trying to focus on Black and brown students or Asian students. I feel like that, in a way, does try to uplift all voices,
Uh-huh.
and especially those who were like misrepresented in the past, but all voices.
Okay, so for example, in the council that you're on, are there men involved? Women and gender, right?
So, Women and Gender
Cisgendered
Diversity
men, yeah.
Club, there's only 4 of us, and it's 3 women, 1 person who I believe is non-binary. For the Diversity Council of all of EMS, I believe there are a good number of men on the
Okay,
council.
okay, Diversity Council, yep. Okay, hey, Remick, so Danielle just talked about a couple spaces in her college, right? So there are a lot of these spaces all over campus, DE&I spaces, every college, every department. To what degree do you take advantage of those? And you don't have, you can say I don't at all, which is what most people would say.
Yeah, I don't really at all. I have very few times gone to the office for like LGBTQ community. I've gone there once or twice, and I'd say that's about it. But besides that, I only come onto campus for class and then I leave, so.
And so, but these are important for you. You said they were important for you, right? These issues are, right?
Yeah,
But you are not really personally taking advantage of them, so to speak, right?
yeah, I would agree with that
Okay,
statement.
so, which is not a problem, look, you can't, look, I don't take advantage of tons of things. I don't have enough time in my day, you know what I mean? You're busy, you have classes. I think from the outside, it seems, because we have so many of these organizations, it seems like, well, you must be just endlessly, I don't know, students must be so really involved in them, and you're saying like, well, I'm not. What keeps you from, what keeps you from being more involved? Like picking something out, these things that you think are important, but you don't really get involved in, like what keeps you from that?
Well, first, I would say my job. My job takes a lot out of me, so that's a main thing. So majority of my downtime is like me just hanging out with friends, and I don't really want to fill that up with more school or stuff that will take up more mind capacity, if that makes any sense.
Got you, okay. So for you to feel grounded here, for you to feel part of Penn State, do you feel part of Penn State? Are you Penn State proud? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would say so.
I mean, you're not wearing any Penn State gear. You don't have any Penn State tattoos. You don't have Penn State gear either. Dude, he does. This guy's Penn State proud, man. Dude, he comes all the way from India, and he's holding it together in the two of you. Okay, I'll let that drop. Okay, so you feel connected to Penn State, but you don't need to be involved in these initiatives to be connected, even though you think they're important.
Yeah, I do agree with that. And I used to be a part of a pre-med frat, and I just, work just kind of took over. So I'm not anymore, but it's mainly just work and school for me.
Got you. Okay. I think that you're probably more common. This is probably pretty common. Bro, how about you, man? How are you taking advantage of these spaces around campus? These many, like, so many spaces and organizations and groups. Like, which ones do you take advantage of?
I wouldn't say that I directly take advantage of some of the more multicultural resources, but like as for clubs, I feel like there are a lot of diversity clubs at Penn State, and as for the Indian ones, I go for as many events as I can because, as I said, it's important that that aspect of my life remains constant, like the celebrations that we do for festivals and whatnot.
Like
so like Holi,
Diwali.
Garba, Diwali happened right now.
Did you do Diwali? Yeah, it's going on right now.
Yeah, Diwali.
Throw
A couple of
colors
days ago,
around
me and a couple of my buddies were just lighting up firecrackers. So that like it seems like such a small thing, like you can do that whenever. But it's like you had to be in India to experience what Diwali really means, and doing it here is obviously not going to be the same scale. But those clubs, at least for some of the other stuff, it helps maintain what made home home.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, and to be in fairness, right? It takes, as someone who has lived abroad for many years of my life, and when I was a young person, it takes a lot, you know. So even for me, who I very much enjoy not. Hey, I think, don't we have a no laptop policy in class? Yeah, huh, I thought so. As a person who enjoys being in other cultures, right? I mean, I'm a sociologist. This is what I do. I don't just go to another culture and I dive into it. But even then, for me, I remember the very first fall that I spent abroad. I remember going to a Thanksgiving meal that was put on by a bunch of Americans at I was living in Spain, at a Spanish restaurant. And it just I don't know, after several months of living there, it just felt really nice to have a Thanksgiving meal. Even though in the United States, I didn't even like Thanksgiving. And today it doesn't have any meaning for me, really. But in that moment, it felt really good. It just felt, so I can see that, right? Hey, can you go, okay, prioritize. But this is not saying just, hey, we're going to uphold these. This is saying we're going to prioritize these things. And what does that mean? Like, you know, here, the university is saying, not only are we going to, of all the things we could prioritize, and all the things that are worth prioritizing, this is what we're going to make sure that we signal to everybody. We are going to prioritize these things.
Seeing the word prioritize, especially highlighted, I feel like it really makes the statement read as that the university is going to not just have this like written down on a paper, but they're going to act on it. And from my experience, I've seen them act on it a bunch of times.
Well, the fact that there would be so many organizations, that you're part of a club and part of the committee and part of this and part of that, like, you know, it really, so you as a black woman, you feel, hey, I feel like this institution really does not just signal, but it stands behind this thing, these words to say, no, these are really important for us. What have you learned about the world by prioritizing these issues here at Penn State? Like, how have you grown intellectually and socially and emotionally and psychologically?
I really feel like I've gotten better cultural awareness. Like I used to think in the past that I had a good amount, that like my dad's super well traveled, so he would tell me stories from his travels. But going to Penn State, I mean, it's a huge change from where I went to high school. It was like a small Catholic private all-girls school with only 360 girls across 6th through 12th grade. So what I thought was cultural awareness, like it completely blew up going to Penn State and seeing all the different like aspects of students' lives that they still try to maintain through diversity. That was really, I felt like I got to see so much more of that when I came to Penn State.
Okay, so I'm going to interrupt you really fast. So for you, you're an American, right? So for Salil, for him to say, yeah, but we, as part of different Indian organizations with Indian students, we try to actually hold on to some of our culture and bring it here and hang on to it. For you, that sounds like, hey, that's a really good thing. Because you're not going to go to India and participate in Diwali, and even though it's not the same, you won't get the same, but you might do it here. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I feel like I was a World in Conversations facilitator, and that especially gave me a lot of diversity because they prioritize having diverse facilitators.
Uh-huh.
And it was through like just the class alone, I was able to learn a lot about Ramadan and Muslims because one of my peers was Muslim,
Uh-huh.
and she would talk to us about like what it was like going through Ramadan at the time and what she was doing, how like when she would break her fast. And I feel like at a bunch of different schools, you may not get that. You probably wouldn't get something equivalent to World in Conversations. But I feel like as just a Black American, the likelihood of me being able to connect to a Muslim student on that level, I feel like it likely wouldn't happen.
Got you.
at other
Okay.
places.
Very cool. So here, in that sense, for you as a Black American, was your high school, was it mixed, or what was the racial ethnic makeup of your high school or your community?
So not a lot of diversity. Like of the 60 girls in my grade, about like 6 of us were Black,
Okay.
one Hispanic.
But other diversity, Asians, indigenous people.
Asians, there were probably less than 10.
Okay,
in
so
high
for
school.
you as a Black woman, so people have this idea. So let me just say this: a lot of people have this idea, and then Remick, I want you to comment on this. A lot of people have you remind me of my niece, by the way. So if I'm looking at you in a kind of a funny way, and you have her gestures, you're looking at me like my niece looks at me. And she looks at me like I tell dad jokes, and she's always just ready to, I feel like she's ready to roll her eyes.
That's because you do.
I do, I know. But I laugh at them, even though I laugh at them. So one of the things that it becomes, for you as a Black woman, diversity for you, people have this idea, it's like, well, diversity means being around, like, say, Black people, right, or brown people, or whatever. But what I'm hearing you say is, no, for me as a Black woman, I need to be around lots of groups of different people. And so that actually helps me, and it helps expand my understanding, including different white people, right? Have you met up here any really rich white people or really poor white people? Do you have any friends who are really rich or really poor?
I'd say mostly middle class up here, but my high school was in Potomac, which is the richest zip code in Maryland. And I definitely did not fit within that zip code, so I met a lot of rich white people.
Okay, have you ever met any poor white people? Really poor white people?
I'd say nobody like far below the poverty line, but some people like at or just above.
Yeah, so that would be for you, diversity and inclusion and belonging. It would be, hey, meet some really like rural poor white people. There's a whole world of poor white people out. It's just, where Trump gets a lot of his votes also, by the way, which would be, for me, would be a deep curiosity. I would want to know, like, who are these people, So for you, that would be a really good thing. Hey, Remick, final, just quick question, and we're going to go to a slightly different thing. Actually, can you go to the next slide? Okay, these are 2 more, okay? And you can also look, so serve students in the development of character, conscience, and social responsibility through fostering identity development, social justice, and inclusion. Empower our students, staff, and faculty to become social justice leaders. Remick, can you tell us what does social justice mean? What are they talking about? What's social justice? What do you think it is? Not what, and you can say, I don't really know.
Yeah, I have no clue.
Okay.
If I'm being honest, I have no clue.
Okay. So you're someone who thinks about these things, though. Am I right?
I would like to assume so. Yeah, I believe I do. I think I do.
Okay. So hang on. Let me ask you a question. How many students, what percentage of students do you think you could give the microphone to? And if they were being honest, they would say just what you said, like, yeah, I'm not really sure what people mean by that. What percentage of people sitting in this class do you think would say that? What's your gut feeling?
I would say about 50% because people's definitions of things can range. So whether or not it's their opinion or they see it a certain way, then it can mean something completely different for the person right next to them.
Okay, but you think 50% would like really have no clue?
I mean, you know when you look at a word and you're like, I know what it means, but I can't give a definition.
But dude, you've looked at this word. I see everywhere I turn, I see this word. Danielle, am I right? Social justice? Bro, do you guys use this word in India at all?
Nope.
You should with Dalits. You know what I mean? Like there's all sorts of reasons in India you would be using social justice. What does that mean to you as an Indian coming in from the outside going like, here I am in the United States?
Do you mean like in the context of the United States or like in India?
In the context of the U.S. Yeah, we use this word all the time, right? Social justice.
Yeah, well, in the US, in this context, it seems like they're talking more about. It doesn't look like they're talking about discrimination here. I don't think that's what it means. So I'm going to assume what they're talking about is just maintaining different cultures and making sure that they aren't just overlooked by universities in general, and making sure that pretty much all different cultures and like, yeah, all types of different cultures in some way, shape, or form are maintained through some way, shape, or form
Okay,
in the
all right.
university. Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. As an outsider, right? What do you think are the chances that almost every university across the country, that minoritized people of minority status, right? People in the LGBT community, disabled community, black and brown community, women, trans, and one thing after another, right? What are the chances that they're overlooked? How often are they overlooked? Even given how much, just how like widespread the conversation is and so on, how often are they overlooked?
From the last 3 years that I've been here, I haven't heard anybody, at least in my friend circle or on any type of social media, say that they have been actively, they feel like their lives would have been completely different if there was some sort of inclusion, so that they could have some sort of like cultural inclusion as such.
Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean? Say that again. What do you mean?
I don't think I've met anybody who has.
Oh, who has said that?
Yeah,
Who has said that? Yeah, I feel
who has
left
said that.
out.
Yeah,
I
who
feel
has-
like I don't
yeah.
belong. I was like, okay, I don't know. I don't fit in here. So you're talking especially international students, because you hang out a lot with international students. But other people as well. You haven't heard any. Have you heard anyone say that? Like, oh my God, I don't belong. I'm not included. I'm not part of anything, or I'm not. Or how often do you hear that?
I don't think I've heard somebody say that explicitly, especially at Penn State.
Uh-huh.
But, I mean, just in the American context, I do see it with just some of the ways with our policies. Like, to give an example, I think the rolling back of affirmative action, I feel like that might be a good example.
Affirmative action in universities?
Yeah, because even though it's not a perfect fix to the problems that like minority students often are in, like
Yeah.
school systems where they receive worse educations,
Yeah.
and trying to implement a fix at the college level, it's definitely not the greatest of an idea, but
Yeah.
it was an attempt to fix the system.
Okay, so let me also say the following on that. There's no student in the United States who needs affirmative action to get into a university, right? There is absolutely every single student in the United States, even those who were completely horrible students like I was, can find a university in the United States that will accept them as a student, just like I did, right? So no one needs affirmative action. Like you just need, maybe you need affirmative action to get into a university that may be out of your range, you know, but you're gonna find a university. Because so all this affirmative action stuff is really not talking about the vast majority of universities in the United States where people could apply and get in. It's only talking about the more elite universities. So I hear what you're saying, but it's sort of like, that's almost like a white, I don't know what you call it. It's one of these things that for a person like me who grew up in the working class and never could have gone to an elite university, that's like this red herring argument. I'm like, what are you people talking about? This is just for rich kids or something. I don't know. Like, come on, man. If you want to go to university, you can go to university. You don't have to like, but in any case, I just wanted to say that here for
No,
sake of.
I get what you're saying. Like, you're right. You don't need affirmative action to get into like any of the schools, but
Yeah.
I believe like it's a lot of minority students, but also just a lot of poor students. The education system in America has huge disparities.
Yep, it
And
does.
I feel like fixes like affirmative action, they were really poor, but they were trying to be a fix for
Got
the
you.
disparities. So something like rolling back on like that, it's not like the best example, but it is an example
It's an
of how
example.
we still leave people
That's
behind.
good. No, listen, and what I want to say is what you just said is also a really thoughtful, like, just way of saying that. It's not, okay. Remick, this is the last question, and then you all are free. What do you think this means, this stuff about social justice? What do you think it means to the people who wrote those parts of their mission statements?
I would say for the people who wrote this, they obviously wrote it either because they experienced social injustice or they saw social injustice in front of their eyes.
Okay. Whether it existed or didn't exist, whether they even knew what it meant or not. I think sometimes, right?
Yeah, I would say whether they knew about it or not. I'm sorry, wait, can I see your name again?
Salil.
Salil, what he was saying after he said that, I kind of got a general idea of what I think social justice means. So that's why I think the people who wrote this either experienced it or saw it in front of themselves, like in front of their eyes.
Or just put the word in there because they have to, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely
Like
is
if you
a
were
huge
doing
possibility.
this, you know to put the words in, because you get like, hey, I gotta.
I would never write something like that though.
Uh-huh.
Mine would be a lot simpler.
Okay, well, I think about social justice, and I think, well, are they talking about, and I think about the global thing. Are they talking about the, nearly, I don't know, like 7 million displaced people in the DRC right now? It's about 7 million displaced people in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's the worst humanitarian crisis on the planet at the moment. Are these people talking about that? Or are they talking about the fact that, I don't know, social justice, that you can't get the scholarship that you want? Or I don't know what the social justice students have. I don't know what it is, right? That we bring some speaker on campus that insults us. And or is it the DRC, the humanitarian crisis there? I don't know. Okay, do you have an answer to that? Do you have a quick answer to that? And then this will be it.
I was just going to say, I think that statement has the capacity to hold like situations like what's happening in the Democratic Republic of Congo, but I think it more focuses on issues that we see that are very loud in America.
Yeah, they're very loud in America. Or that maybe they're either very loud or we talk about them a lot. They may not be. Maybe they're not always that loud, because what I'm hearing from the three of you is like, well, y'all feel like you pretty much belong here, but we keep talking about it all the time. So that would be an indication that the three of you right here, must feel like, hey, you don't entirely belong. So that's why we're talking about it all the time. But what I'm hearing from the three of you is, no, actually, we belong quite well. And so, but we keep talking about it. And maybe the reason we keep talking about it is the reason you feel like you belong. Like it's a circle, I'm not really sure, but.
Or it could be because we're advocating for other people who don't feel like their voices are heard.
Who advocating for people who don't feel like their voices are heard. And their voices may not be heard because maybe they don't, yeah, for whatever reason, they feel that way. Yep. Okay, awesome. You guys rock. Thank you. Thank you. You can give your mics to, come. All right, here we go, man. Bro, gentlemen. Hey, thanks. Nice job, by the way. It was cool. Nice job. Thanks. Okay, y'all. You ready? Flip your mics on. Hold them. The best way to do it is put your thumb like that and just hold it really close, like you're rapping, dude. All right.
Hi, my name is Henrique Marchi. I'm from São Paulo, Brazil. I'm an economics student, senior here at Penn State.
I'm Jonah. I'm from Pittsburgh. I'm a second-year comp sci major.
I'm Maddie. I'm a sophomore, public relations major, and I'm from Radnor, Pennsylvania.
Wait, where are you from?
Radnor, Pennsylvania?
Radnor. How do I know Radnor? What is that?
Villanova's. In
Oh,
Radnor.
yeah, that's right. Okay. Oh, I was there one time. That's how I know it. Okay. Awesome, man. All right. Can we go to so here we go. This is from the Penn State News, October 5th. I saw this. This was the thing that said, like, okay, dude, you got to talk about this in class. I call myself dude. When hate-filled speakers are on campus, was that a dad joke? It wasn't really. Okay. When hate-filled speakers are on campus, support for those impacted is available. Penn State was signaling to the student body. This was at the time when there was some Christian group that was out kind of in front of Buki, kind of there, I remember seeing a crowd of, bro, you were there, right? Remember that? I saw you. And there was a crowd of about 150 students. They were all, it seemed like they were having a lot of fun, but the Christian group, they were saying stuff against the gay community, probably. That seems to be often what they're talking about. And then this woman who's a swimmer, Riley Gaines, I think is her name. She swam at the University of Kentucky, and she's really speaking out against trans women competing on a level playing field with women who are born women, right? And so she's saying, like, I just don't think that's fair. By the way, we had a really interesting conversation in this class a few years ago because there was a woman who was on the Penn State swimming team, and when this issue was really hot, and we had a really cool conversation about the pros and cons of that and how that could be. Anyway, I thought it was a really thoughtful conversation. Okay, so question: what does hate-filled mean to you? So this is Penn State signaling. Hey, when hate-filled speak. Oh wait, can you go to the next slide? So these are some of they were listing out some of the places where students can go for support, okay? So go back. All right, so hate-filled, what does that mean? Hate-filled speakers.
To me, hate-filled speakers kind of means people that try to tear others down or try to impose bigotry or discrimination on a certain minoritized group of people, and they try to spread that message of bigotry and discrimination and kind of invalidate the existence of some of these minority groups.
Okay. Jonah, how about you, man? Hate-filled.
Pretty similar, just like targeting like a certain group of people to like say mean things.
Mean things.
Yeah.
All right. Maddie, you kind of almost laughed at that.
I mean, I'm going to say something very similar, but just like anything like said intended to hurt like a minority group.
Uh-huh. Do you, okay. Do any of you have any friends who, when some of these speakers come onto campus, who are hate-filled, that they feel threatened or they need support or like, I don't know. Do you have any friends, bro?
Most of my friends are gay, so when the Buki speaker came, I was actually at that protest, protesting against it, and my roommate at the time, who's a straight guy, we kind of did like a little anti-protest towards it, which was pretty fun. But there are people in my life that I know would be affected by that kind of speech. So
Wait, hang on. Okay, so you were there, and it was kind of fun with your roommate. You had a fun little shtick.
yeah, just like discrediting what they were saying basically in front of all of like the people that were also protesting against it. So
Okay, so support then. So you didn't need support. You weren't like traumatized or something.
not by like protesters on campus, because I know just to kind of ignore them. I see them on campus, not frequently, but at least once or twice a school year.
Yeah.
But if it's like unprovoked hate speech, that's where I would probably get.
Okay, but
little
this
bit
is
affected.
not. Yeah, but this is not that, right? This is Penn State is signaling like, hey, we can't stop these speakers from coming. This is First Amendment stuff, right? Like people are gonna come, and student groups are gonna bring them in, and not only are students groups gonna bring them in, but student groups who feel, at some level, students who feel disenfranchised in some way, who just want to be provocative, because this is a university, and we are provocative. Places like a university are provocative, and people do and think provocative things often, and that's kind of the nature of what it is. So, like, okay, it's Penn State saying, bro, how about you? Do you know anyone who's, like, really been traumatized or needed support?
I don't know anyone, but I mean, there's definitely people that are, because like the guys you were talking about were saying some pretty like horrible things. But I do think what helps is like what you were talking about, how a lot of people were like ganging up on them, and like everyone was making fun of them, honestly, even on like Snapchat stories and stuff. So I think that helps a lot of people.
So, Maddie, do you know anybody?
No, I don't. Like, I personally go to them every time they're here because I think everything they say is like so outlandish that it's like comical and entertaining. So I just like, yeah. But I don't know anyone that's like.
Okay, so then I'm curious about, okay, so here's Penn, this is a big statement, right? So this is on the newswire. So this goes out, and anybody around campus anybody around the world could see this and say, oh, Penn State is setting up these resources for students who are traumatized by these speakers who are coming. But what I've heard from the three of you is like, no, it's actually kind of fun, and we go and we make fun of them, and they say crazy things, and so then I'm like, what's this? What do you think about this then?
I mean, I feel like it's like the PR aspect. Like, if they don't come out and say this, it's going to look as if they support all these groups that are coming. So they kind of have to say this. Because, I mean, they're obviously, like, there are going to be kids that, like, here that are affected by these, like, hate-filled speeches and are going to need support.
Well, like who though? Like, do you know anybody?
Like, no, but, I mean, the protests that I have gone to, like, they say some, like, crazy stuff about, like, gay people and, like, I'm like very content with my sexuality, but like if there's like someone that's gay there and not, like I could see how that could affect.
Okay,
them.
so I'm going to play the devil's advocate, right? If I could for a moment. So hang on, I'm playing the devil's advocate here, okay? But what I've heard from you is you didn't have to go, right? You went willingly. Even if you passed by, you could just go around and not listen, and everybody's wearing headphones anyway, so just turn your music up. But when you did go, you went to have fun. Like, they're saying crazy things, and then you do crazy stuff, and like, I heard lots of laughter. I mean, I remember when I walked by, I was like, what the hell's going on over there? There was so much laughter and fun and gaiety and frolic, fun and frolic. So I'm confused, right? Because anybody who might feel traumatized in some way, like, they could just avoid it.
Like, yes, but also like I know at that like specific protest that was outside of Buki, like he'll like call out people that might just be sitting there and watching and like call them out and start like kind of attacking them. Like
That's what the
last time I
speakers
was there,
were
he
doing.
literally called someone the N-word. Like he says like pretty outlandish stuff. So like that is traumatizing for people.
Uh-huh. Wait,
Like-
who was dropping the N-bomb?
The guy. That
The guy who was there?
protesting. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, if it's like targeted attacks towards certain people
Yeah.
like in the crowd, then I feel like these resources would be viable and necessary for me personally. I haven't taken advantage of many of them, even if I have seen some of these protests.
Wait, hang on.
But-
Many of them or any of them?
I haven't used many of them.
Okay.
Like I've used some,
Okay.
especially at the LGBTQ center in the hub,
Uh-huh.
but not related to an on-campus protest or
Okay. All right.
mainly more like targeted attacks that I've seen happen on campus. So,
Okay. By groups.
by groups and then by like students and individuals that are on campus or
Do you mean
off
like-
campus too.
Wait, like, so. So, students, you mean like on a Friday or Saturday night, drunk students driving down College Ave? Like, who's targeting you?
Quite
'Cause-
actually funny you say that because that happened on Saturday. I was walking on Beaver Ave and then I got called the F slur by these like they were in a car, so obviously not drunk, but just like unprompted.
Were you like with your boyfriend or something, or like a partner or something? How would
No,
they?
I
how
was
would they-
alone.
But
Yeah,
how
that's
would
the
they-
funny thing. I was just walking.
How did they know you were gay? Like,
Well, that's it. I don't know. It's like, might have been luck. Maybe they kind of profiled me or something, but it's happened on occasion on this campus at least. So
yeah.
I've also had the exact same experience. Just walking down Beaver Ave alone, and someone shouted out of their car. So I feel like it's a pretty common thing with gay people here that people don't realize.
How do people even know you're gay though? How did they know you were gay?
Good gaydar, I don't know.
I don't think a lot of these
so-
people have a very good Dude, I have a good gaydar. I think they don't have, most of these folks don't. Maybe they do. I don't know. Maybe that's a thing. Like, God, okay. Huh. Okay, so I want to go back. I want to ask you something. Though. I want to just push back on one thing, because this is a thing that people ask a lot, okay? This isn't me asking, this is other people. So when these groups of people say to come to a place like Penn State, you know, some of these hardcore religious people, and they start throwing ideas out, or just throwing things out. I mean, the guys, they're standing there, they're saying all sorts. Gary, right? Gary sometimes, he's a little more toned down these days, right? Gary, I mean, I love Gary. Gary and I have debated a couple times, by the way. And I know it's not really a debate, it's just us talking. But what the thing that people ask is, well, why would you go if you would risk targeting? Because you could more easily just get on your phone and see all sorts of stuff that's really mean against people who are minorities, right? I say that because it could be anybody, right? Jokes, right? All sorts of stuff. So you could get anywhere. You could come across it anywhere and be traumatized in some way, right? So here we are on a college campus, so we'll just avoid it. Just avoid. So that's would be my people ask that. So then I want to go back to that. What would you say?
So your question is like, why would we go to that?
No,
these
like
events, or-
what if anyone is on campus saying like really targeted things, like you know when it's happening because you hear, right? Just like don't go, just pass by. Like I didn't go. I heard all the fun and frolic, and I saw pretty quickly what it was, and I'm like, I don't have time for that bullshit. And so I went around the other way, and I came here to class. But you didn't. Like, you guys went, and you're like, all right, well.
I feel like it kind of ties into the whole social justice aspect that the
Okay.
first group talked about.
Okay.
I feel like I go to these protests like whenever I hear that it's happening because I feel like I have like a duty to stand up for other people
Okay, I got you.
in like
All
a
right.
social justice term, and then if other people show up, that kind of invalidates, or it seems to invalidate some of the topics or ideas that these hateful groups are spewing out.
Well, so that can go both ways, right? Because when we
Yeah.
bring a speaker in, like back last fall when we brought that, who was it? Alex Stein and the other, who was the other guy? Whoever, those two knuckleheads.
Was it the one with the counter protests in the hub?
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
they canceled it at the last minute. What I said in this class is, to all of those who are going, you're all going because people are going because they want to see a spectacle. That was the reason they went. No one went, maybe there were 10 people on the entire campus who went because they thought what these guys were going to say was actually worth saying. Everybody else showed up at this event because they thought it was going to be a big spectacle and they just wanted to see the spectacle. And I'm like, dudes, but then there were all these people who were protesting, and I said, just don't anybody go. If the only people who were in the room were crickets, then these guys would just be talking to a bunch of crickets. You know why I say that? Crickets, all you hear is like chirping of an empty room. So it's like, just do that. But what you're saying is, no, you got to go because you have to stand up. Would you say something similar? Like you're kind of standing up for other folks, or?
Like, yes, but at the same time, I feel like it's human nature to want to be, like, entertained. Like, I'd much rather, like, if I'm walking past the hub and I see a protest like that, I'd much rather stay and, like, watch than go to the hub and scroll on my phone, do
Yeah, I
homework.
got you.
So I feel like it's kind of just, like, a mix of, like, human nature of just wanting to be entertained and also, like, our duty to stand up for what's right.
Jonah, but what do you think we should say to the administration, right? Who sends the message out? Basically, the kind of one of the subtext messages from this, if you read that, because this is what other people have told me. Are your students a bunch of snowflakes? They need support for something they don't even have to go to? They just find out that it's happening somewhere on campus and then they're traumatized? It's like, are they snowflakes? Like, what would you say to that?
I mean,
Do you know, first off, can you explain what a snowflake is?
People use it to describe someone who's like soft, I guess.
Too
Easily
fragile.
offended, something like that. Yeah, it's
easily
like an
offended.
insult.
Yeah. Do you know any
mean-
snowflakes, bro?
Me.
Yeah.
I think you can say that like about like the big things, but like they were saying when they were just like randomly targeted on the street, like that's different.
Okay, that's
you can't
different.
control that.
Yeah.
So I don't think you can like justify what you were saying for stuff like that.
Okay, yeah, but that you can't. But that's a different thing, right? Penn State's not saying, they didn't put a news post out. It's like, hey, when you're targeted on the street, we have support for you, which they don't need to put a news post out because these organizations exist for that. Like if you're walking down Beaver Avenue and suddenly someone targets you and you feel unsafe, well then that's what we have. Like we have resources for you to talk to people and be like, dude, what the hell, right? At very least find out like who has that kind of gaydar, you know what I mean? Like, damn. I mean, I'm not. So, are we allowed to laugh at that?
Like a gaydar joke?
No, not the
Or
gaydar
like
joke. Like that thing is like who?
We're getting called
Were these
on the
people in a
street.
pickup truck also? It's like who has? Were they?
For me, they were, yeah.
Dude, who driving a pickup truck down Beaver Avenue could pick out that you're gay? You know what I mean? Like, who are those people? Like, I want to meet them. Like, oh my God, that's amazing to me. All right. Okay, but still, that's part of it. Okay. Do you guys? You see the snowflake, Maddie? What would you say? Hey, Julie, we're good. We're not doing that thing, by the way. Hey, Maddie, what would you say to the people who say, they say to me, are your students a bunch of snowflakes that they need? And again, I push back on that because I think I'm going to say something really fast, and then I'm going to ask you the question. What I tell people is, look, there's 46,000 students at University Park. The vast majority of 46,000 students at University Park are doing exactly what Remick was saying. She goes to classes, she goes to work, she's just busy. She's not really involved in all this stuff. She supports it and she likes it and it's good for her, but it's like, I'm busy. Like, I'm not. Same with you guys. So 46,000 of us. So when we see one little news bulletin, it seemed like the most recent one with Riley Gaines, 2 students were arrested for obstruction of whatever it was. They turned over the table, they did something. 2 students, 46,000 students, bro, here at University Park. There's 120 or so people that show up either to support her or protest against her. 46,000, about 120 show up. 2 students turn a table over. The headline becomes Penn State students riot or whatever they said at this woman who's simply coming to talk about her thoughts on gender stuff. So then people are like, all of you get labeled as a bunch of snowflakes. Because now Penn State has to come out with these things and say, we support you if you feel terrorized by Riley Gaines coming to campus. So what do you say? What would you say? What should I say to them?
What was your question again?
Well, what should I say to all these people who ask me, are you just a bunch of snowflakes? Like, what's...
I feel like I would say, like, even if one person is, like, affected by it and it helps one person, like, that is, like, 100% successful. So, like, not like you said, there's 46,000 people. That doesn't mean all 46,000 people here are affected by these little protests and things. But like, even if one person is like that, it's help that's needed, and that's why Penn State is posting stuff like that. It's not because all 46,000.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, you're supporting everybody, right? So that means you got to support the outliers and all. Hey, by the way, can I ask you, when the 2 of you were targeted in that way, someone dropped the F-bomb on you, and what did they say to you?
They called me F-slur too, yeah.
Yeah? Were you, what happened? How did you feel?
I mean, I was really upset, but I didn't do anything. Like, I wasn't even out to my parents then yet, so like, I didn't have anyone to talk to about it, so I just kind of went on with my life.
So you went on with your life and you swallowed it?
Yeah.
But did you know there was support for you? Did you go to?
I mean, it was during summer session my freshman
you.
year, so like, I don't even know if those offices were open. I mean, they might have been, but I didn't know about them.
But that's why these things exist then, right? For that. You were upset. So like that. Bro, how about you? Wait, hang on. We have one more question here, by the way. So that's important for people to hear that, right? That's like really unsettling. Bro? Wait, hang on a second. Am I like on, do we not have a minute left? Bro, what's my watch say? Jonah, what's my watch say? 1 minute left, right? All right, bro. You?
After that happened to me, I kind of just called my roommate and laughed it off with him, because I'm not that easily offended by things like that, but there's things that are a lot worse than just getting called a name on the street by some random person, and I feel like those things are why Penn State has the resources that it does.
Yeah, but I want to say, a violent attack just going to begin with a name. It's going to start with a name.
Exactly, yeah. It's our job to prevent that first, to prevent everything else. So.
All right. Hey, hang on. Can you give it up a little bit? All right.